I've really come to love the Gospel of John and the epistles of John since I've become a member of this community. And I think the primary reason is because the message is love. The Gospel and the epistles tell us about a God who is love, whose very character and nature is love. And out of God's love, He sent Jesus into the world to reveal to us the true nature of God and to reveal to us our true identity as children of God. And so the Gospel writer says, to those who believed in Him, to those who entered into relationship with Him, they discovered a new life and a new light in their lives, and they received power to become the children of God. One of my favorite verses is from the first letter of John, where the author has this tremendous enthusiasm about this theme. He says in 1 John 3, verse 1, "See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are." And this author and the community have discovered through Jesus a God who is love, and have known themselves to be beloved disciples. And that's been a powerful message for me personally. And I think it's the message that speaks most deeply to our community. And it's also the witness that we have to offer the world. And so we want to extend this invitation to all of you who are participating in this video series to open yourself to this wonderful truth and let it transform your lives.
I love the Gospel of John because of the loving, playful image it gives us of Jesus. He's serious, and there are very serious things that occur in the Gospel. But there's this playfulness and this hunger to relate that is just wonderful. We all have those desires to have deep relationships with people. And Jesus shows that, sure, it's possible. It can happen. And in touching those people, He makes it happen in them. They have those relationships with other people as well as with Jesus. I mean, He opens something and it helps them to live out rather than being focused on themselves. They don't get it. He still loves them. Through all of that, He still loves them. That undying love that He has helps us to have that same kind of persistent, undying love for other people. And if we don't hear that message, our lives are so narrow, so we lack the kind of richness that love for other people can give our own life.
God loves you. And you may be at this moment, or you may be able to remember some moments where you felt that to the core of your being. But what happens when the weather changes and that feeling has gone away? Well, I would say two things. One, I think love is ultimately not a feeling, it's a decision. And it's God's decision. And God adores you. You make God stay. You're the apple of God's eye. God loves you. That's the truth. Some days you may get in touch with the feeling that encompasses that. But I would say, number one, cling to the truth. That's of your essence. You are loved of God, and God has hopes of spending eternity with you. And second of all, especially if the feeling of love is lost in you right now, write this on a piece of paper: God loves me. And keep that piece of paper with you. I'd encourage you to cart that piece of paper with you through the day and tuck it under your pillow at night. And you might say, and when I do that, will I feel that God loves me? I don't know. I don't know if He will or not. But I think the truth of that has every potential of sinking into the reality of your being. Because it's a decision, and it's God's decision. And the invitation for you is to cooperate with that decision. God is operating with love in your life. And your response to cooperate with the truth of it. You'll catch on. You'll catch on.
I find it's difficult to go through the day to remember what God has done. I may sense in the moment, oh, look, God's right here, how beautiful that is, oh, that was a great word. And then I continue through the day, and something else happens, and the next task is before me, the next problem, the next worry, the next assignment. And if I don't stop later, it'll easily just pass by me what's happened, what God has given me. And I find that's what a lot of people have trouble with when thinking of, well, where was Jesus for me? Sure, Jesus may be ordinary and right in my daily life, but I don't see Him, and it must be something bigger. That must be why I'm not seeing Jesus today. And yet Jesus comes in all these small and simple ways, and it takes the time to stop and ask to see, where was God for me today? One of the most helpful practices I've found is to actually stop at the end of the day and ask and look back and see, where was God for me today? What was the gift of God for me today? So I ask questions like, what am I most thankful for today? What am I least thankful for? When was I most fully alive? And those things spark in me, oh yes, I remember that word. Remember I was anxious about that meeting and then how it came together. Or that encouragement from a brother. Or as I went outside and saw the glory of the sun through the leaves and I stopped. Remember that moment. And then in giving thanks, I realized that was God's gift to me. And not only a gift, because as John says, I am the bread of life. Even those very little things, that is Jesus to me today. That is Jesus shown up in my neighborhood, that word, that image, that consolation. Those are divine gifts. When I don't stop at the end of the day to ask, I usually forget. They fly by, new things come, but when I do stop, I'm reminded again how much God loves me and where Jesus was for me that day.
John has this vision where he sees the hand of God in the whole of creation, in ordinary things like bread and wine and water. He sees God's very self breaking through. And I think John's Gospel, helps to give us a similar vision so that we too, when we walk in the world, John's Gospel can sort of open our eyes to to see that in Gerard Manley Hopkins' words, that the world is charged with the grandeur of God. And I think it's that which draws me to John, that every time I read John, I have it's almost like my own vision is deepened. And it's extraordinary. The more one goes deeper into the words of John, in a remarkable way, I think the more one enters into the very heart of God and discovers again and again just how much God loves and cherishes each one of us.